mountains also. Other ways that I've gotten away from Tolkien. Like, really, a lot of my mythos that I've been pushing has been based more on, like, Scandinavian and Norse myth. The idea of, like, personifying natural occurrences and putting them on something supernatural. Like, I'm going to have a great bird, which, like, flaps its wings, which creates the wind. Thunder and lightning is going to be due to, like, a crafter god who, like, strikes his hammer upon it, and that creates the lightning, and the thunder is the reverberation. Egyptian myth is actually incredibly rich, but based on the players that were playing this, we kind of were deciding on thematically what we wanted, and that's what we wanted. We were mixing Scandinavian myth with some Shintoism and ancestral worship. Our Shintoism comes from the idea that, like, pretty much everything has a spirit in this world. Like, every rock, stone, chairs, like, everything has a spirit associated with it. But Egyptians definitely have a very rich myth. That could be very well something that you could explore. Regarding why I made this like a 40 by 40 area, like I mentioned that it was a small play area. Because they're one-shots, we wanted to be able to get from one place on the map to another, and the travel time is I think like 32 miles in a day. So we really wanted to keep it kind of short. 40 by 40 is about this, or 1,600 miles, or square miles is about the size of Rhode Island, give or take. So it's not that big at all. But in that small area, you can still have great adventures. And by making a small area, you can really develop it and make the players feel at home. Like, they can really grow connections to a place. They aren't just on a constant struggle to get to the next place. Yeah. What else? I'm just really trying to figure out things to talk about here. If you guys have any questions about the systems or any talks in general about gameplay theory or how I feel on something, feel free. By spirit, I'm talking about more like everything has an essence, and that essence can interact with the normal world in some way or another. However, things like the Fae, which would include like nymphs, I describe them, I believe, as like half mortal kind, which is kind of like there's mortal kind that have souls, like everything with like a real soul, and then spirits, which is like everything else. What I describe Fae as in this mythos is they're creatures of true magic that are half spirit and half soul. So they really are kind of a merging of those two worlds. And because of that, they play like a particular role in it. Those particular dwarves that I was talking about before that turn into stone during the day are other examples of that. They're kind of like half mortal kind, half spirit. And that's one of the things that I think that's going to differentiate important races between others. Like another really important race is going to be the giants. Anofrfell itself, for example, was originally a great mountain that was inhabited by storm and cloud giants. And that has a backstory as well, but that's very long and has a lot of stuff inside of it, so... But yeah, and then the spirit world has its own, like, champions and such. Like white, and the thing is some creatures can also count as spirits just directly. Like treants would be an idea of just spirit creatures. Like they're very much just, they're trees with cognizance, you know? Are there nations? In this setup, this is just one region. And I haven't really thought of a name of the region. The world itself is called Arbeidet. The region, I haven't really thought of what it's going to be called yet. But it's essentially, whenever I reference it, it's called the region that the adventuring guilds are in charge of. Or I say, like, the lands of the guilds. Which has to do with Anofrfell as well, basically. There's not it's not really a country per se, but the guilds, the 3 guilds, control all of this land. If I did want like another country to encroach, then it'd probably be coming from the south here, which is why I have this set up. Toglovic is going to be a town here, but these forts, one of the other DMs wanted to see these forts be occupied by like another nation, and it would be kind of like an encroachment on the land of the guilds, and that could present adventuring opportunities as well. So is this like a nation that's united together? Yes and no. They're united through the guilds, but they're not like an official named country where they do everything by themselves. And other nations do exist. It's just this is where the majority of the adventuring is going to take place. To explain kind of the adventuring guilds also, since I mentioned them. Basically, there's 3 guilds, and this was how I introduced the characters. Like, there's always this thing where you're like, how do you connect people and their backstories without it just being cheesy? Because, you know, it's like everybody meets at the end. Like, you all meet at the end and get drunk and decide you want to get rich together. Woohoo, yeah! This is more like I wanted them to give them a real solid chance at it. So it's kind of like everybody is part of one of these adventuring guilds, and it's called the Adventurers Society. And the other 2 guilds are called the Company and the Explorers Brigade. And basically these 3 adventuring guilds are so powerful that they kind of like run the region, and everybody goes to them if they need something to happen. They are essentially almost like the military, but they're the military for hire. And it's pretty cool. Like in Anofrafil, for example, they run everything. Like they are literally the Council of Adventurers, who's like 9 people, and they make all the decisions for Anofrafil and what will happen with the town. They're not so much like the spec ops. They're literally like the real army. Like there's 10,000 people in Anofrafil, and I think I said that 6,000 of them were direct guild members. Like they're in the guild or they work for the guild. So like they literally are like the town. And then people go to them to get everything done, essentially. And that presents tons of opportunity as well. Like you have this, each of the 3 guilds has a different purpose in a way, like how they view adventuring. And this presents an idea for friendly competition or outright opposition to one another. So, for example, the Adventurer Society, they believe the spirit of adventuring is really in the adventure itself, in the friendships that you make, in the trials that you overcome, those types of things. The Company believes that the spirit of adventure is to become more powerful. They think that the thing that makes the adventure true is that which you acquire in it. Treasure, money, influence. So that's where they get it, and that's kind of why they're called the Company. You know, they see it as a business. The Explorers Brigade believes that the heart of adventuring is an exploration. When I talk inside the wiki pages about many of the things, I refer to the Explorers Brigade a lot because they're kind of the people that go places and discover where to go and what's there, and they really write the history of what's going on in those places so that other people can go there. Originally, I kind of wanted the Explorers Brigade to be where the guys were at, you know, like who they joined, but it kind of won out that the Adventurer Society was the better name, I guess. So everybody wanted to go with that, so I kind of had to bring them to the forefront, which is fine, you know. I think that having all 3 of these be a very developed society, a very developed social system, is integral to it, though, because it makes them believable. And if they're that important to Anofrafil, which is where the PCs are from, they need to be developed. Another thing, if you're one of those people that runs a campaign out of a single city, which by all means you can do that and make it incredibly rich and enjoyable and provocative and everything, you need to make that city really good, though. Like, you need to work out all the kinks in it, and you need to make sure that you have your ducks in line. Because if the players are going to be spending over half of their adventures in this town, and you don't know who the ruler's name is, there's an issue. If you don't know who controls the police force, there's an issue. Like, just really basic things that people think they can get away with not knowing and make up on the spot. And then, yeah, okay, you make it up on the spot, and all of a sudden your captain's name is Chuck. It's like... yeah. They have, Spoonie actually talks about how it's important to have memorable names, and I'm in full agreement on it. You don't want to have a name that's ridiculous that you can't say it, but at the same time you want to make it something that people will like, that has a nice ring to it. You know, you don't want to be Bob the Fighter. Which I kind of break my own rule in a way, because I'm designing a Pathfinder character for another thing that's going to be called Bill. But he's like basically just going to be this ridiculously huge guy. I'm just going to like max his strength. In an interesting way though. Like he's going to be like part barbarian, and he's going to get an alchemist so he can drink like a potion and make himself super big also. But I forgot what his surname was going to be, but he was going to be like Bill to something. But it was going to be pretty cool. Another thing to do is, it's nice when you have a name that people can make. And he, again, something that Spoonie mentions, he says, it's nice when you can have a character that can have a nickname, or that has a nickname. It builds group rapport. It can even be a mystery to people, like, how did they get this name? Like, does this person like being called that? I always find it incredibly satisfying when the players start to actually care about the characters in a way that's not related to their ability to complete a mission. Example on that. I was talking with my friend, and while watching a video, this guy was like, oh, well, maybe, you know, the halfling's tired of all the small jokes, and like when somebody calls him small, he's gonna kick his ass. What I love isn't necessarily that, although that's cool, you know, that you roleplay that out. But I like it when it's more like they call him Shorty, and then the rest of the group steps in. Because if you think in real life, like if somebody was just like talking smack to your friend, like right in front of you guys, I mean, this guy's talking smack to this halfling, and then all of a sudden, this 7-foot, 423-pound orc, like just brimming with muscle, like just walks up to him with like this enormous great axe. He's like, what? Just like picks him out and just like throws him out of the bar. Out of the second story window, obviously. You know, because, I mean, if we're doing that, then... But yeah, it's... I love seeing interactions like that between groups. I'm one of those, if I had to mark myself, you know, people are like min-maxers or they're like role players. I'm kind of a middle ground in a way. I like to make thematic characters, but I always roll them with enough power to do something that's broken, but not like a ton. Like I'll make a character that can break the game once a day or something. So that if we get in real trouble, like we're in real deep shit, then he can do something that's like game breaking, but otherwise he's just strong. Like he'll perform. Yeah, and so you like, and that can be a thing too, is your nickname can be related to your backstory also. Not to like rag on it or whatever, but I probably would have maybe picked something a little smoother than the Unholy Priest, but like maybe Romano the Heretic or something. I mean, I would say the unclean, but then that makes it sound like you got some problems in your nether regions. But people should agonize over the name, though. That's actually, in the other video I talk about that, like I labor over names because I'm like, man, I don't want this name to suck. Because I'm going to have to hear it all the time. It's like when you name yourself something bad in a video game and you constantly have to look at it. Just like, man, this sucks so bad. Or like somebody constantly mispronounces your name on vent when you're in raid or something. I come from a WoW background, so. All right. So you could be like the Pope. You could be the Pope Slayer, and your guy can look like what's his name? Oh my God, your guy can look like Jaime Lannister. You'd be the Pope Slayer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, George R. Martin is excellent as far as giving people nicknames to kind of give them some flavor. Pretty much almost everybody in the books has some sort of nickname associated with them. Ooh. Yeah, like as far as breaking away from the tradition, also I'm gonna like, besides rewriting race fluff, I'm also gonna rewrite some class fluff as well. There's always this conception that the wizard always has to be this robed person, and I think I'm gonna enforce that, but I gotta kind of enforce it in a way. If that makes sense, like, because in normal D&D, the thing that differentiates a wizard from anything else is really their ability to cast spells. And what I mean by that is, why would you dress yourself like a mage or a cleric and give away that you have this power? Like, why wouldn't you, say, dress like a common traveler? You know, don't even carry a staff. You're not going to use your staff. Just carry a dagger and like a short sword. Yeah, you may never use the short sword, like maybe you suck with it, but it makes you look like a thief. You know, or a fighter. So now you don't stand out like a sore thumb and people think, oh, shoot that guy, he's dangerous, you know? And if the DM decides to do that, then it's kind of out of character, because it's like, you know, there's not really anything that shows that I'm a wizard, so why are they doing it? Hello. Man Under Fire. Yeah. I was like, Maduder. I was like, that's gotta be something else. So I really wanted to promote that in some way where you're kind of have to show that you're a wizard or like a caster. I was thinking of doing something like you have to have a beard, and then the beard's a different color depending on what like alignment you are or something. I don't know. I'm still working out the kinks. The idea is to be starting within the week. It really just depends on when I finish up the last little bits of this and when I can get, like, basically I need to make sure people have rolled up their characters also. And then really we're just waiting on getting a time together. I don't think you were in the, in this channel for that long, Man Under Fire. Basically what happens is I'm running a thing where there's like a dozen people and we basically all go, okay, when does everybody want to play? And it's like, oh, okay, well, we find out a night where like 4 people can play, and then we run like a one-shot example, or a one-shot campaign. I will keep you guys updated if you do follow my channel or whatever. I'm not saying that you can't. I just don't want people to spend time on this until I know that it's underway. You understand? Like, I already hate making friends of friends, like kind of roll-up characters, because I'm not sure that how devoted they are, how committed. But at the same time, like, I really want to make sure that we're going to have people. If we have people, then we play. If this thing falls flat on its face, then I don't want people going, oh, you know, I spent 3 hours making this stuff, you know, like, waste my time. Just doesn't look good. That being said, I did mention before where you can get the D&D Next playtest if you have your own little group that you want to try out, you know. Like, I highly encourage people to give it a try, because the more information that they can get, the better they can make the game when it does come out. I guess I could show you guys another thing. Like, I showed you Arbeidet, which is the campaign that I'm working on right now for the D&D Next. I'll show you my other one, which is my Pathfinder game, which is really more of a sandbox. And this is kind of what it can look like when you really put time into it too. Like right here, I don't have it. Basically, the front page, I have the general news, and then I have the crystal ball, which I use as almost like a small preview of the next adventure. Like, you might get like a line or a note that they're going to get. So it kind of like builds suspense for the players when they read that. Tales of the Farseer is a mechanic that I use where it basically shows the players an event that's happening somewhere else in the world, or something that happened in the past or whatever. So they kind of get some insight as to how the world is bigger than just them, but they can see the world spread out before them. It's a very good idea, I thought. Then, like, here's the idea of the adventure log. And you could do much less than this. I think for Arbeidet, I'm just going to have like bullet points that talk about it. But this literally it reads like a story. And I've done up to 41 sessions. We've been playing a little over a year for this campaign, which is basically a session a week, with the exception of a few weeks where we'd have like holidays or whatever. But yeah, like, this says everything that happened inside of the session. And it has the hypertext, or rather the wiki links to the different places, also to characters, which is another thing you can do. I have my wiki set up also. Yeah. Characters, you can make up your characters with their own dynamic sheets if you want. You can also make things like GM only. Like, the players, if they went onto this site, they wouldn't see these guys, which is pretty cool. Items, you can put in your own items. I tried to, for the items in this campaign, I tried to give them a little bit of flavor too, which is, I think, something that you should do also if you're trying to make a magical item. Give it something cool. You know, don't just say you pick up a magic sword or whatever. Like, give it some real nice character. Let's see if we got anything here. This one is Sunblade, so I don't want to do that, because that one's kind of a... Here we go. Opaque shifting black sword. Okay, that's how I describe it. So it's like this black sword, but like the interior of it is like it shifts around, like it moves. So like the description, the sword looks common enough in shape, but the interior of the blade holds a form most malevolent. The blade itself appears translucent as clouded glass, but acts much as common steel. The core of the blade holds within it a shifting material as black as the darkest inks. Looking closer, the shifting forms appear to be black bones cascading and tumbling within. So it gives this sword some character, you know? It's not just your common everyday sword, or with a sword with a ridiculous hilt or something. And like, it's thematic. Sword of life stealing. You have like these black shifting bones that are in there. And actually, when the sword of life stealing hits and it connects, thematically, this like black bone energy like cascades out of the blade and like grabs onto the person and just wrenches a piece of their spirit out. And I thought that was pretty cool. So like, now I've turned this, you know, like mechanically, it's a sword of life stealing into something that's super awesome and cool. Something that feels good to wield or to pick up. I mean, when these guys first picked this up, there was a serious consideration that they were like, you know, a guy picks up a sword. What's one of the first things they do? Does it look nice? Second thing they do, I hit something with it. With this thing, they were actually so concerned that they were afraid to pick it up because they were worried that it might be cursed. So now, we basically turned something that's an obviously good magical weapon into something that they're worried about even using. You can also do it the other way around. Maybe you make a really nice looking sword that's actually just a ceremonial blade and it like breaks when they attack with it. Let's see. Another idea of my map making. This is a section of the world that they're in. Like a very small section. Like one continent. And it has like the major towns on it. So like that's another thing you can do. If you're wondering how to make maps like this, I do it on GIMP. Which is a free Photoshop program. And I get the tutorials for how to make stuff like this on a place called cartographersguild.net, I believe it is. They have some great tutorials for making your own maps, and guys on there are phenomenal. Like, you would not believe some of the stuff that they come up with. But I believe all of these ones I'm happy with the names as well. Again, naming's a huge thing for me. Like Galatio, Tanfield, Shore Barrow. Why is it called Shore Barrow? It's on the shore, and it's a farming community. Falconen, which is like the realm of one of the sky gods. East Haven Island, just to the east. Lake Ice Drift. I really wish I would have put, like right here, there's a grand aqueduct that's like huge, like I think it's like 100 and some miles long, that feeds water from Lake Ice Drift into Iliad. Yeah, I didn't put that on there. I really wish I would have. Oh, another thing. When you're talking about making your own towns in a homebrew, again, that idea that like if you're gonna spend most of your time in this one place, you really need to develop it. Find out where they're getting food and water from. Because if your town is like 100,000 people, they aren't getting it from wells. They're gonna need like an aqueduct and then, God, what are they called? A cistern system. And then probably fountains also. Just little things that people forget about. Also things you can do, like I mentioned how I have the Tales of the Farseer. I actually have an archive, and in the archive it actually mentions all of the Tales of the Farseer. So if they ever missed it for the week, they can always come on here and check out what they missed. And that's like it's almost its own little story as well, which is pretty cool. So far the players have really liked that one. That one has... It's not a bunch of one-shots, it's actually a continuing campaign. But it has a style that's kind of similar to the new Doctor Who style of storytelling, if you think of it, where it's like you get like a definite story and a definite direction on where you're supposed to go, but while you're doing it, you get these little inklings, these little pieces to a larger picture, and then it's kind of like in Doctor Who, you know, when you hit the series or the season finale, everything kind of comes together. And that's kind of what I've done with this. And I have like micro ones and then larger ones also. Like one of the adventurers just discovered that his orphan child, who was supposedly abandoned, was actually not exactly abandoned. He's a half drow. So he thought his mother just basically got raped and was a human and deserted him. But actually he's kind of discovered over time that she might be what remains of like a noble household. And that noble household were actually elves. So it really starts bringing into question how he is a half-elf. And it also gave him a sense of trying to figure out where he belongs, because I figured out that was kind of his primary character motivation. Big thing as a DM, by the way, find out what your characters are motivated by. If they're motivated by treasure, that's either not true or they're terrible players. Nobody should just be adventuring just to get rich. Why do you want to get rich? Do you want to become king by your own hand? Do you want to own a castle of your own? You know, do you want to own an inn? Like, those are reasons. Those are actual goals. Money might be the avenue to getting those things to happen, but getting money in and of itself is not a goal. So, like, now his character has a purpose almost. Like, he's really trying desperately to, like, fit in. And now he has, like, this inkling of, like, wow, I actually kind of belong somewhere. And now he's trying to, like, follow up on the history that he discovered in Wellcliff. Actually, he discovered it in Mercaeus, which is between here. Another thing they're doing, they're actually tracking down a fairy lord. That's the fairy king of the Mulligona Mountains, actually. That's kind of what they're doing now. But yeah, that's kind of what my other one looks like. You can actually do some super cool stuff on here. Like, I'm not perfect with HTML in any regard, and it does take a lot of effort to update wiki pages and stuff. But if I had more time, you could add in pictures, you know, anything that you really wanted. Alright, well, it is getting to be about 15 minutes to 5 o'clock my time, and I think I'm going to get off for now, at least in the next 5 minutes, because I'm going to have to get set up for going out tonight, probably. My goal is to get my own faith, to conquer the world and bring pain to all of my families. Yeah, that's a goal. You know? To get your own faith, to ascend to deityhood in some manner. Yeah. That's an actual goal, you know? And it can be really simple, too. Like, it doesn't mean that, like, a goal has to be ridiculous, you know? Forums for what? For the Obsidian portal thing? Okay, the link for the forums for Obsidian Portal, it's actually only for what are called Ascendant members. Obsidian Portal provides a lot of things for free, but some of their functions, like the calendar and the forums, are actually you have to pay for, unfortunately. Like, see, it says upgrade today, you know. I might do that eventually, but that's that. But like I said, I mean, I'm going to endeavor to be on during the daytime, and I'm going to make highlights of each of my sessions on here. So if you ever miss a day or whatever, like, I'll try to name it something like, we're picking up applications now or something, and here's some information. But I'll try to keep you guys informed for when we do start. If we do start and we do get a session or two under our belts, then I'd be happy to introduce new people. Especially once you get to see, like, kind of how we run the game, if you're there for sessions, or if you look at the highlights when we do. That way you'll get an idea of how we like to play and what's kind of needed and what's expected. But it's, again, I feel like with the way we've set this up, it'll be excellent. It should be very low investment, meaning, like, you know, you're spending 2 to 4 hours, and you spend that 2 to 4 hours as often as you want. So it should be pretty cool. Anyway, as I mentioned, if there is nothing else, I'll wait like another couple minutes in case anybody had any more questions. How long is a game? Typically in my other sessions, it's tended to take between 4 and 5 hours. For these one-shots, I feel like it'll be considerably shorter, but I cannot promise anything. I'm guessing it'll be between 2 and 4 hours for each session. And then they're all one-shot sessions, so it's whatever. There's going to be a lot less, like, bantering on how to get from place to place. It's very much going to be kind of like, okay, the first 10 minutes are going to be, like, getting the quest, and then maybe the next 10 will be, like, getting a little bit of background information. Then it's just, like, straight into the meat and bones of what you're trying to do. So there's not really this transitional period where you spend an hour debating with somebody on carriage fees or something. You know, it's not that I don't love RP of that nature. It's just that's not what we're looking for with this. We are introducing new players and people that might not be as comfortable with role playing and stuff. So we really want to give that experience to them. Limited power. Could you elaborate on what you mean? Well, overpowered is because it's E6, E8. Again, at E8, that means that I think the highest you can get is a level 4 magic. So I think at level 8 the highest you can get is level 4 magic. So like you can have powerful spells, but they aren't going to be like absurd if that's what you mean. But you're still going to feel powerful, trust me. As far as magical items are going to be tightly regulated, and to get anything more than a +1 is going to be pretty difficult. It's pretty much going to be, as I mentioned before, you're kind of going to have to quest in a way for it. Like you have to earn that shit. But that'll be cool, you know, like I feel that magical items are all too often just like kind of given to the characters. Like they don't really have to earn them, they lose their specialness. Think about how much shit fucking King Arthur went through to not find the Holy Grail. You know, you think about like Excalibur, like all the greatest weapons of myth and legend, they didn't just fall into people's laps. You know, what was his name? I think it was Perseus who slew Medusa. Like he had to go find Medusa and then he had to discover the method through which to destroy her. And to get Medusa's head was just a step on his path. You know, like that's all of the best, I feel, as far as magical items go. Alright. Any other questions, guys? Again, I'm going to give about 2 minutes in between when I say that. Just in case you guys need to think or I miss it. Can you make your own class? No. We are locking classes to what are currently in the playtest. Currently, we are using the point buy system that they have there, which is like 27 points. All stats start at 8, and then they have like a point buy system. It mentions it in the creation packet. Again, trying to keep things... Which ones do they have? Right now, actually, I have that in Arbeidet, because again, like I said, I was going to rewrite some of the fluff for the classes, so... these are the current ones. Barbarian, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, and Wizard. On a previous playtest, they had Warlock and Sorcerer, but they changed the game so much right now, and they're not currently in the playtest packet, so they aren't available. And these guys, like I said, it's just whenever I look over the packet, I'm just super excited, because some of the abilities are just so cool. And, like, super thematic, too. Like, Monk has this ability where they can, like, punch a guy, and then like a vortex of force like shoots into this guy and behind him. So like mechanically how it works is you hit a guy, it does damage, and then it causes like a push effect on everybody in a 50-foot line behind them, and they like fly back, and if they don't save they can like hit the ground really hard and take damage. It's really cool. And every class kind of has something awesome like that. Which do I think is the best for classes? Don't know. Have not played the game. Traditionally, casters have been the strongest classes, but I can't say that for sure. I say traditionally too because like you also have to keep in mind that the martial classes, like say like fighters and stuff, they tend to be stronger earlier and then become a lot weaker later. but don't know. I have no idea for this current one. As I said, I feel like Wizard is the least interesting, but that could easily change. Right now, they only have one ability, and then they have spell casting. And yeah, they have a lot of spells, but Cleric has a lot of spells too, so does Druid. But they also have a lot of abilities too. It's like, I can be a wizard and cast a bunch of spells, or I can be a druid, cast a bunch of spells, and turn into a bear. Seems balanced. As for the 3 characters that I picked, if you were wondering, I rolled up a fighter, I rolled up a paladin, and I rolled up a wizard to try them out. Paladin's pretty interesting because they decided to... they basically unlocked it. Originally, you could only roll lawful good paladins. Now they made it so that all lawfuls can roll. But you're kind of different. Like, lawful good is like the paladin. Lawful evil is like a tyrannical paladin. And then like lawful neutral is like a nature paladin, which is what I rolled because I thought it'd be an interesting thing. Are there a race that gets a bonus to a class, like an elves make better mages? The class, or the races do give bonuses to stats. They also come with their own special abilities, and they are actual special abilities, not just kind of like little tacked on things, which I thought was pretty cool also. Like, I made my mage an elf because they get access to another spell. Like, elves get a cantrip for free. Elves have bonuses to dex, and then the specific elf that I picked has bonuses to intelligence. Most races have like the base race, and then they have 2 sub-races, and you pick one of the sub-races to be. So like I'm a high elf, the other one's a wood elf, and they get different things in addition to what elves normally get. And I've seen some really interesting things, like originally in like 3.5 you had charging, which charging is like you move double your speed and then attack and you get a bonus. Well, in this game you can't charge unless you have the feat charge. And normally you can just move your normal movement speed and attack. With charge you can move double your movement speed and then attack, just like normal charge. What my friend said is he was making a barbarian and he actually made him a wood elf. And it was a super interesting idea, I thought, because essentially wood elf gets an additional +5, I think, to their movement speed. So by getting an extra +5 to their movement speed, he gets not quite charge, but almost like a pseudo charge without the feat. So it was pretty cool. I thought the idea was very interesting. And like I said, I mentioned that I made the high elf wizard, and like because high elves get proficiency in short swords, and short swords are finesse weapons, so they use your dex for attack and damage. Well, my wizard has higher dex, or like reasonably good dex, so he actually has like 2 short swords. So like the minute that he's run out of spells and he can't really do anything, like he has a longbow so that he can shoot that, because that's another proficiency that elves get. So like he shoots his longbow, and then if they ever get to him, then he's just like pulls out both of his short swords and just goes to work. Cleric? Depends on what you mean by bonus. The ones that give you a bonus to wisdom. Let's see. Maybe I have it under my normal files. Ugh. Gotta close some stuff. Gotta get to my folder. Oh yeah, I'm running this stream on one single monitor right now. I'm hoping to get a hold of a second one from a friend. So like, apologies if seems like I'm taking a while to pull stuff up or whatever. Alright, so the races. So ones that will get a cleric bonus, depending on what you're doing with your cleric. I mean, obviously you need wisdom because that's your casting stat, but after that it kind of depends on what you need. Dwarves get a +1 to Constitution, and then if you're a mountain dwarf, you get a +1 to wisdom. The mountain dwarf also gets proficiency in light and medium armor. Oh wow, that is super powerful. I wish I would have known that. Oh well. Armor mastery. If you're a mountain dwarf, you get proficiency in light and medium armor, and if you wear those, you get a +1 to your AC, which is pretty cool. Elves. Elves' base is Dex, and then they can either get intelligence or wisdom. So like a wood elf could potentially be good too, because they get +1 wisdom, and they'll get the +1 Dex for being an elf, which you wouldn't think. I mean, if you're going into melee, the Dex isn't really going to help you too much, but like you could make a ranged cleric, for example. Fleet of foot would make you faster also. Let's see, halflings. Dex, charisma. Okay, so halfling wouldn't be that great. Humans are just like humans were just flat out the best race, I feel, in Pathfinder in 3.5 because they were just so powerful. In this one, I still think humans are probably the best race, but it's not nearly as ridiculous. Like, it's kind of like if all the other races are 5s, a human might be a 6 or a 7. And what makes them so powerful is even though they don't get any special abilities per se, every other race gets like a +1 to 2 stats. Human gets +1 to all of their stats, which is very strong. Let me see, they also came out with some additional races recently. So let me see if they have any other good ones. Intelligence, Constitution, Dex, that isn't that good. Half-Elf's a potential one also. With Half-Elf, you raise your Charisma by 1, and you get 1 other ability score, so you can make that Wisdom. So that's another option. Something about half-elves also is they kind of get like a half and half of elves. Like, for example, elves are immune to charms and sleep, but half-elves just have advantage. And if you forgot what advantage is, it's basically when you roll your d20, you roll another d20 and pick the higher number. And then if you're really just trying to make like a bruiser, half-orc is another option, which is your strength increases by strength by 2 and con by 1. So if you wanted to make a really combat-based one, you could play a half-orc also. Yeah, no problem. I mean, again, like, the more people that can get interested in this stuff, the better, because I want, like, it's already shaping up really great, but I want to get wizards the most information that they can, you know? Getting people excited is important. And also getting the right information out there is, I think, important too. Like, I feel like 4th got so much bad flack that was just completely unwarranted. Pay to play. I don't understand what you mean by that. The D&D playtest is free to download. You basically just sign up for it. And we use a free... No, the playtest is free. You just have to sign up. And then the map tools, which is the program that we use, is free to use also. You just download it. And then you learn how to use it, essentially. As I mentioned, Obsidian Portal is mostly a free thing. Like, you can use it for free, or you can pay for the Ascendant membership. If you get Ascendant, you get some free things, or some nice perks, but I haven't found them necessary yet. I find that you get plenty with the free version of Obsidian Portal. I believe I know that the playtest packet, they have an OS X patch for it. I don't know about RP tools. Let me see. I would assume they do. Oops. That's what happens when you miss an X or an S. Alright, let's see. Downloads, map tool. Note that the file names ending with .dmg are Mac OS X. So yeah, they have them all down here. So like this side, the zip files are for Windows, and then on the right side is OS X. I think they're cross-compatible. Like if somebody is running a server on a PC, you should be able to connect to it on Mac, but I can't say that for certain. My god, I love that picture on the bottom left of the stream. Every time I look at it, it just makes me laugh. Well, internally, I guess. Any other questions? Even from like our room or Petty, if you had any comments or questions. I'm also going to try to network with some of the other guys that run campaigns on Twitch. Kind of build a community, maybe. That way we can kind of like make some, I don't know, maybe we can make some sort of quality control also. That way it's kind of like we have people watching at all times. Might be nice to have a nice group of people watching. Alright guys, well, it is about 5:07 my time. I'm going to split because I've got to get cleaned up and eat before I head out tonight. Again, I'm going to try to log on every day during the daytime. I'm going to make highlights of every significant broadcast that I have something that's important to say. If you are interested in possibly playing, you can follow the stream or just keep an eye out on the highlights. And once we actually get started, and I know that people are serious, then you can start inviting other people. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your July 4th if you are American. Actually, enjoy your July 4th if you're anybody, and your Independence Day if you're American. Alright. See you guys another time.